committed to not leaving it like this, because it's obviously not working for everyone. So we want to make improvements, but what we want to surface is like feedback from the community that will help us understand what improvements need to be made.
Hi everybody, it is Lori Zachary with LA Thrift Junkie. I've been absent a little bit the last couple weeks. I told you guys I had a Zoom call and that I would update you, and I've kind of been taking it in. I've been making the changes that I need to make to see if it's going to work. And I am going to come out with a tip video, you know, some helpful tricks and tips that I've learned, but a lot of that I've learned from other resellers. So I have some notes here. You'll see me looking down. I can't remember everything. So I want to tell you about the first Zoom call that I had and what kind of conversation we had. First of all, when I got on the Zoom call, I realized it was called a closet consultation call. So I don't think they was really prepared for what I threw at them, because I stuck up for all of us and I asked a lot of hard questions. Matter of fact, in the very end, I'm going to tell you the very end of the call first, they asked me, they said, what is it you think Poshmark could do to be better for you? And, or, you know, to basically kind of take care of the situation. And my answer to them was very stern: to change it back to the way it was, figure out their search, make it work properly, and then make changes. And most of all, come out publicly and tell resellers that they're going to do this and what they're doing and what we need to do to make sales again. And, you know, truthfully, during this call, they were so friendly, and there was 3 of them. I only saw the faces of 2 and only had 2 talk to me. They were very friendly, and they really did seem to want to help, okay? So with everything that I'm going to say, it's not necessarily in a positive light. I want you to know that those staff members were very positive and they were very, very nice, okay? So the first thing that I want to address, which blew my mind, is I kind of brought up, okay, so here's some of the theories, right? Like I told them the theories of what all of us are thinking out there to see how they would respond. You know, what are they going to say to me? I can tell you that there's some disconnect. Not everybody at Poshmark's on the same page. They didn't know about a few things that we were facing, like the search and the pattern that we're seeing, like where it's like 4 rows of just shared and then 2 rows of had been shared a long time ago. They didn't even know that was a thing, okay? So I informed them about that. But one of the things that we talked about is, I said, well, one of the theories is that you guys are cracking down on bots, and a lot of people seeing their sales go down is because of bot use. And I asked them, I said, I don't use a bot. I'm one of those weirdos. I don't. I tried, I'm not even going to name it who it was. I tried in the beginning, scared to death that I was going to get a bot. I tried a service that screamed that they were not bots. And I got on at 2 o'clock in the morning because I have insomnia, and I see it sharing. And then I still see it sharing at 6 o'clock. And then I got out, like basically logged out of my Poshmark account and logged back in, and it was still sharing. So I'm like, okay, I ended that service and I never used another one. But I asked them about it because I use Vendu, and my concern was that, okay, I'm delisting and relisting at a rapid rate. Vendu does not solve CAPTCHAs. Could it be Vendu? Now, I've been told over and over by coders, by Vendu themselves, by other resellers, Vendu is not the problem. And they said the same thing. And this is what they said to me that blew my mind. They said bots are not the issue. That the sharing bots that we use are not the issue. Now, did they encourage me to use one? Absolutely not. But what they said to me is the bots that they are worried about and that they have software, code, whatever it is, to find are the bots that may be going in to do scamming, okay? So like on a much larger level, like credit card scams, for example, or fraud. People that would be going in to try to steal our data and information that way. So I was really shocked by that, you know? Like, here we all are scared to death to use these sharing services. And according to them, again, just 2 staff members, remember I told you earlier, they were not aware of everything, so please take that in mind. Everything that I'm saying, please keep in mind that this is what was said between 3 people. We are 3 people out of many people. But I found it interesting that they said that to me, that these sharing bots are not their worry. It is much bigger than that. Okay, so I wanted to put that out there because to me that was the most shocking thing that I heard. Okay, so I also talked to them about the search results, and I told them what was going on. And like I told you in the beginning, they wasn't even aware that there was a new pattern. They were like, you know, they kind of paused for a minute, like before one of them started speaking again. And what they told me about the search results is that they know something is going on. They know with this change that there's something that's going on, and we're all experiencing the growing pains together. Okay, so what do I mean by that is Poshmark is aware that there's issues because they're listening to the community. They wasn't at first, to be quite honest, because they gave us canned responses, and they're getting much better, so that's good. But they were aware that there was an issue and that they were working on it, and they could not address us until they themselves knew what the issue was, okay? The next thing I can tell you is I've been speaking to a coder. I am nobody. Like, I am not even a 6-figure seller. What I am is determined, because Poshmark was my main income, and I am seeing hundreds of people feel the same way. They're writing to me, they're telling me their stories. It's breaking my heart. So I'm kind of being, I don't want to say pushy, because I don't want to come off like I was being pushy, but that's the best word spontaneously I can think of. I was determined to find out what was going on. So I wrote them on Twitter, Poshmark, Facebook, Indeed, Manish himself. I wrote until somebody eventually listened. I think they listened to me to get me to shut up. And I'll tell you, I think that for real. Okay. So in any case, I'm going to read my notes here just real quick. I'm afraid I'm going to get lost in this video. But so we were talking about, you know, the search, and they know that that's an issue. And I was talking to a coder. So I was talking to this coder, and they let me know the reason not everybody is seeing a dip in sales is because we were rolled into this. So you know, like how when they get new features, like let's say when an Ambassador 1 program first come out, or I can't even think of some of the features that they've had. There's been so many that they've added, and like you'll see other people have that feature, but you don't have it yet, right? Well, we got the feature. Yes. And so if your sales are not tanking, brace yourselves, because you might get rolled out and they might start tanking, okay? It is what it is. Or perhaps through them using all of us as, lack for better words, guinea pigs. You know, they have to test. I mean, as a business, they have to test. What are they going to do? You know, they've got to do it. They're doing it to make more money, but they're testing on us. Like the ones that are suffering in sales, we are the ones that's in this group, and they are trying to figure out, working 24 hours a day is what I was told, and I wouldn't doubt that, to get this right. So there you go. If anybody is toxic and telling you to do better, it is not you. The problem is these other sellers are not in the group. They are not seeing what we're seeing, so they don't understand. They can't relate. All right. So that's really important, because there's a lot of people, I mean, it's become very toxic, and that really bothers me, because Poshmark is very community oriented, and they are definitely separating sellers. They're causing cat fights out there. Okay, so I did talk to them about the drastic drop in sales. I did send them the very first video that I done, and boy, was I afraid to. Like, if my sales was bad then, imagine after they see my video, right? But you know what? Nothing happened, so that's good. But I talked to him about a drop in sales, and I got a little bit of a runaround. I wasn't very pleased with the answer, and I remained polite and calm the entire call, because first of all, they were really trying to, I mean, they were there to try to help. They was doing what they knew to do, all right? But they told me that there's ebb and flow, and you know, all those things. And I mentioned to her when she said that, I said, before you tell me it's because of war and because of gas prices, please don't. And she gave me a little giggle and she said, absolutely not. She said, that is just, she said, of course it's not because of that. And then she paused for a minute, kind of gave me a second to keep talking. And I said, the reason I know that is because I owned a flea market and I've been part of flea markets for 30 years. Okay, not necessarily full time until I owned one, but I know during the downturn of a recession or the economy going bad, those things go up. Secondhand sales go up because people's trying to save money, right? When the money's flowing and everything's great, they're going to go to Lululemon and buy those leggings. But when they're not so good, they're going to second guess that. And if they have to budget, they might come and buy it secondhand, right? So she agreed with me. But here's the thing, the very first thing that I got back from Poshmark, the support email, was telling me about how, well, you know, there's ebb and flow and the war and, you know, all the things going on in the world. So there's that disconnect I'm talking about. So not every employee, person, period, thinks the same thing, but they really should try to be on all the same page. That's my opinion. You know, there should be some consensus there if there's some truth to what they're saying, right? And not just gaslighting us and giving us vague excuses, which I will say I have seen some of the responses now, and they're doing so much better with the responses. And I know as a reseller myself, I appreciate that. I appreciate that they are acknowledging there's an issue and they're working on it. Okay, so what she said to me about that, about the drop in search, was the ebb and flow. And I told her, I said, you know what? I can appreciate what you're saying. I know there's ebb and flow. I've been in retail 32 years. I know exactly what ebb and flow is. But the lights went out on March 15th. And that's exactly when you changed the algorithm, search, or whatever it was that you changed. Okay, so I've talked about a lot of these things. I'm going to read right here. I asked them, you know, what has changed? Like what changed? What is it that you guys are trying to do? And their blog, and I'm reading the entire blog. And while I'm reading it, catches my attention. They're telling us exactly what they're doing on that blog. They are focusing on Gen Z and millennials, because they feel like those are the ones that are buying secondhand and replenish their closets the most, and focusing on people that have $100,000 plus income per year, because they are also the ones that can afford to have these huge closets, and of course probably with these bigger name brands, which all of us do not find or sell, right? So make sure you go to the Poshmark blog and read it for yourself. I want you to do that yourself and come up with your own conclusions. That was my conclusion. My conclusion is they are going after a different demographic, and there's a reason for that. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about is actually, I watched a video. I've seen a few things, a post on Instagram, a video. In my second Zoom call, I talked to her about this. So, I'm sorry, not a Zoom call, it was an email. So I talked to her about this, and I said, so people are saying that Poshmark's no longer really in the reselling business per se, that's not where they make their money. They don't make their money with us big sellers. Maybe they might lose a little bit of money. How? I don't know. I've not figured that part out at all. I don't have an opinion, but if you do, let me know. So I said, they say that they're selling data of new sellers. And their response to me was that there are some things that they are going to work on, meaning like the algorithm in the search, and that they're going to try to address it as quickly as possible, but other things are proprietary, meaning they're going to do what is best for their business. And if data mining is something that they want to do, they're going to do it. And of course they're doing that. My opinion is they've always been doing that. Your electric company does that, you guys. Everybody sells your data if they're allowed to, if there's not a privacy law. And that brings me to my next point. I asked them about Google search. I said, okay, so I wanted to share my screen, and hopefully this next Zoom call that I have with them, I'll be able to do that, because I want to show them what the search looks like. I want to show them what it looks like to search on Google too, because I remember doing my comps, and in the very beginning of even starting Poshmark, that I would like type in something into Google, and Poshmark would be, I mean, like 20 things, Poshmark. I'm like, you know, feeling like it was my company or something. Oh, proud of them for, you know, being at the top of the list. It's not like that at all anymore. So people say they stopped paying the bill, or they stopped using Google Analytics, or I don't know what happened. But what I can tell you is they're not showing up in search anymore like that. So the response to that was that they've made these changes for SEO titles. I don't know if that's supposed to be found on Google, like they're leaving it to us to do this like now. I don't know if that's what the point was, to be quite honest, because nothing was very clear. And you know what? They probably they couldn't have their own opinions. They can't just come out and say what they're thinking, because if it's not truly Poshmark's goal, like the SEO of the company, the board members, then they could lose their jobs, right? But what was brought up to me was the fact that Google and Apple has made privacy changes, right? Okay, I gotcha. I can understand that would be an issue, but why isn't it an issue for Mercari, Depop, ThreadUp, all the other platforms that pop up first now? So if you guys have an opinion on that, let me know. That's kind of open for debate, but I do want to let you know that I talked to him about that. Okay, so let me go to my next note. You guys, this phone call was 45 minutes long. I think they were like, we're going to schedule you a second Zoom call after that last, the one I started with, that when I got up on my soapbox. Because she like kept saying, we have another Zoom call scheduled, so you only get 30 minutes, right? I got 45, and then I got a second phone call. Okay, so this is what she told me in the end. I just kind of shut up and listened to her. It's like, okay, so what exactly was this phone call about? What is it that you can do to help me to where I can help the community? Teach me something. So she went in and she told me that this time last year, I was getting 20 new followers every day. But now I'm getting 40. Most of us are like, big whoop, right? I mean, like, honestly, big whoop. A lot of us have stopped following and sharing others. And I still do that stuff. But I don't do it nowhere like I did. Like I was doing it every day, just like listing and all the things. And then I realized I listened to everybody out there in the YouTube and IG community saying, stop wasting your time. I still do it, but it's much less, right? So I asked her, I was like, okay, so what does more followers do for me? So I'm getting 40 new followers every day compared to 20 last year. But my sales, again, I had to mention it because I'm me. My sales tanked March 15th. So, I mean, did these followers just start March 14th? What is this supposed to do for me? And she said, what you have to do is get more likes. She said, so if you get more followers, you're going to get more likes. And if you get more likes, you're going to get more sales. Let me back up a little bit. The reason she said that is because in My Closet Insights, it shows that the majority of all my sales comes to offer to likers. So she's saying, get more sales because you have more followers. I said, okay, well, how do I engage with these followers? Because if I go into, and not that I have time to do this, but if I go into everybody that follows me and introduces myself to try to build a relationship with them, right? Then that's really spammy, right? And she said, what you should do is do maybe 10 max a day. She said, that'd be doable, right? And I was like, well, yeah, that would be doable. She said, so just write them a little note, introduce yourself, like to the new followers and to new Posh Closets. And she said, see where that takes you. So I've done it. I don't know how good it's done, but I have made a couple sales through conversation, to be quite honest. It's been more interactive with people, right? Just 2 people, but I've only been doing it 2 weeks and honestly not real consistently. Hey everybody, I'm back again. I'm sorry. Really, I promise this video is going to end eventually. So I wanted to let you know to watch at the end. I am actually going to splice in some of the things I said on the phone call. I'm going to have to cut out what they said, but if you want to hear what I said on some of the items, stay tuned. Okay, you guys, I'm back. I'm going to be splicing in some things. Normally my videos are one take and done because if I had to edit a bunch, I'd probably never do this. And plus my phone died right literally when I was saying bye to you guys. So there's that. But I listened to the phone call again because I actually recorded it with my phone because I have a hard time remembering everything, right? I want to come back and kind of touch upon some of the things I feel like I missed on after listening to the phone call again. Okay, so I'm gonna put on my glasses and get serious about it. So first of all, I want to let you know the people I had a meeting with, they called themselves community development, and one was a closet consultant. Okay, so first of all, there's that information if that's important to you. Okay, so one of the things that we spoke about is the algorithm, right? So what happened? I asked them what happened. Why did all of a sudden things stop working? And remember I told you I didn't really get an answer. I kind of did actually. Maybe not the answer that I wanted, so therefore it kind of escaped my mind until I listened to the call again. And she said that they were moving the needle and they were seeing positive impact. So it wasn't positive for all of us, right? And I made that point perfectly clear that I disagreed with that. But they're seeing something positive, but because they're seeing something positive they need, that doesn't going to necessarily be for us, right? As resellers, as full-time resellers even. Well, one of the things I want to say right here and right now that I am absolutely confident of because they said it, and if I could put this in the phone call or in this video, which I wish to a certain degree I could, and maybe I might even ask permission from them to put certain things in after my last phone call. It might be like a follow-up that I will include the phone call. There is an algorithm. It's not a myth. There's an algorithm and they changed it. There's that. So anybody out there that says that it's a myth, it is not a myth. They used the word algorithm, said they changed the algorithm, said they was trying to fix the algorithm, okay? So there is an algorithm. And one of the things that they was trying to do when they done the search by relevancy, remember back in February, they done some changes and it was all by relevancy, right? They said that was for us, all of us full-time SEO title writers, right? Because relevancy was made to pick keywords and they was hoping the listings that had those keywords would surface. Well, we all know that's not so. But that's what it was made for, okay? Again, she said there was lots of positive signals. I don't know what those positive signals was, but she did say to me after I said, okay, so they're seeing the positive signals. Some of the other key points, and I'm probably not going to go back and say this perfectly right, so I apologize for that, but you'll get my point. She said to me that they aren't the mall. Or they are the mall, I'm sorry, they're the mall, but they can't guarantee people are going to come into our shops and buy things. And my rebuttal to that, once again, was for 3.5 years, people have come into my store and bought things. People have come to all of you out there watching this that's having problems. They've come to your store and bought things. But on March 15th, the mall's lights went out. And therefore, nobody could see our stuff, right? So they're not going to buy stuff they can't see. So that was kind of I don't know, that was one of the things I disagreed with, right? As nice as they was and as helpful as they was trying to be, I don't agree with that. I'm sure many of you don't either. Another thing that they talked about with the bots, right? So she said the gossip was that they done this to get rid of bots, and that was absolutely not the reason. I do think I touched upon that enough, but I wanted to make sure that I told you that they did absolutely say that. And they also told me that they use software that picks up what people talk about on social media. There's that. Okay. And I'm going to read these notes. I don't want to be all over the place. Okay, this is important. This is a big thing. This right here was why I wanted to go on with this video, or do more with this video. She told me, and I really don't think I caught it until I've listened to this phone call 5 times. My perspective may have been off a little bit because I listened a little bit differently this time, and it kind of dawned on me what she was saying. So when they done these positive changes, right? The positive changes were letting more closets be seen. So the small guys, right? Not just us big resellers, but the small guys. So small guys is making these sales. So basically what she said to me that made me kind of come to that conclusion is that when they opened the doors to more sellers, now the market might be oversaturated with what we sell, right? So I don't know how true that rings, because there's closets that sell the exact same thing that's been here for longer than me. They sell the same brands I sell. They're still doing great. And then again, we go back to that fact that they haven't been putting the rollout yet. So perhaps that's why. Perhaps once they're putting that, then the brands will be even more saturated. I don't know. I mean, that makes sense to a degree, but I mean, I guess, you know, if they open the doors, basically letting people that have posted things a year ago, 2 months ago, and not shared it since, or they're not sharing every day like all of us resellers are share 3-4 times a day, and they're giving those closets a more fair hand, then now we have more competition. So there's that. She also mentioned trends. So, you know, we discussed the fact that I have a lot of bohemian, but I have a lot of different things. I don't niche down. Perhaps in a way, that's what they're pushing us to. And I really feel that strongly, that they're pushing us to niche down. I can't really grasp on one thing of why I feel that way. It's like kind of an accumulative thought of things I've been seeing, things that they said to me that's just kind of like boggling around in my brain right now. But I think they're wanting us to niche down. And we'll touch upon that once that kind of comes out in a bigger manner. Like, it's just not my opinion or my thought. But she mentioned trends to me. She said, so, you know, like talking about how the market is now possibly oversaturated and that it's a lot easier to sell trends. So this is one of my tips I'm going to put out there on this video that I have been doing faithfully when listing now. I am using the trends that now I'm not going out and just buying things that they say are trendy. And actually I did a little bit the last time I went out, just because I know that they mentioned it. But they're mentioning Gen Z and millennials, right? They're mentioning essential items. They're mentioning sustainable fabrics and mailing products. They're mentioning the color saffron and marigold in their blog, right? Use those keywords. Whether eBay, Mercari, or anybody else feels the same way about Poshmark, if you want to be seen in the Poshmark algorithm, appease their gods, right? Give them the words they're looking for, because that's one of the things I've been doing, and my sales are climbing up. So whether I have something trendy or not, if, for instance, I use mustard gold or mustard yellow because that collar sells and people search for that collar, right? Well, now I'm adding marigold with that as well, because that's what Poshmark wants, right? I've sold 2 things using that keyword. So there's that. So if you don't necessarily want to keep up with what Poshmark considers a trend, or maybe you feel like you already do, look at what their blog and their posts are saying and try to use those keywords, okay? We talked about niching here. Oh, this is something that kind of griped my butt, honestly. I mentioned to her when I'm talking about, like, I'm trying to make a point, like, okay, I'm used to seeing more than one sell a day, right? Like, I sell normally between 20 to 60 things. Like, yes, ebb and flow, right? 1 week it might be 20, 1 week it might be 60, 1 week it might be 25, great. But I don't ever sell less than 20. Like, that's like that week was really bad, right? And I got down to selling 6 things in 1 week. And I'm like, I'm not used to selling just 1 thing a day. And she kind of giggled and she said, I wish I sold 1 thing a day. That's great. Not if you're trying to pay the bills and eat and all the things. But, you know, that's the only thing that she really said. It's like, you know, don't say that to people. In any case, that's kind of like that's just a venting moment right there. Okay. And the last thing that I wanted to put into this video that I did not put into it is I asked were they going to come out and talk to the community? And she said, even on my phone call, she's like, this phone call isn't about talking for the entire community. I can only talk to you about what is happening in your closet, my closet. Although you see that they did talk to me about things. And she said they was not going to come out and give us direction as a whole. Their belief is that as a whole, they can't give us advice. They can't tell us, they're not going to tell us what to do. They weren't even going to give me specific tips. Matter of fact, the tip about the followers, like going in and messaging followers, I kind of led that a little bit now that I listened to the conversation. She did say to do 10 a day, you know, but I asked, how do we engage? Why, like reiterating what I said about, hey, so I'm getting 40 extra followers a day. How does that turn into sales? How am I going to do that? Do you want me to go out and message people? And that's where that conversation came from. But they are absolutely not going to give us a direction as a whole. You're not going to see Poshmark come out and say, okay, you're going to have to use these keywords. You're going to have to share this time of the day. You're going to have to list these specific brands. They're not going to do that. So what I do hope they do is they fix the algorithm. They fix the search function, which then would probably fix the algorithm, right? Maybe they get rid of the inactive closets that have been inactive for a long time. And that's another thing I wanted to touch on about the coder I spoke with. They told me that they did try to do that in the past, and they said that basically Poshmark needs to please their stockholders. They need to please, to go public, first of all, before they were ever public, that they needed to please people to go public. They needed to show as many followers as possible. We can relate, right? We can relate because in the beginning of most of us doing Poshmark, we just follow for like an hour, right? Because we wanted those people to follow us back, because the more people we had following us, we thought the bigger our closets look, right? Somebody comes to shop with us, like, ooh, they got 1 million followers. They must be doing great. They must be legit. So that makes sense, right? And he also told me, or she, I don't know what sex they are. I say he. I don't know why I said he, but honestly, I don't even know what their real name is. It was like a username. All right. They also told me, I had to pause and think about that. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry about that. So back to what we was talking about. The inactive closet. So they needed to have as many closets as possible, right? Because then they feel legit. They look legit. And you know, when you have a business, all of us was doing it. There's nothing wrong with it, right? So they didn't want to get rid of users for that reason. So then they finally did do it, and I guess it didn't work out very well because people got upset. So then they changed it to where, and I don't know if it's still this way, but they changed it to where if somebody would come on and buy something, say they would come on and buy something, I guess it would give them some kind of notification that, I don't really know exactly, I want to say, use my own words, some kind of notification that would send the buyer, hey, you know, this person has been inactive, let's get in touch with them first. So then it would send the buyer a notification. Then I think they changed it to, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, this was all in like a text type form, you know, so you can't hear tones and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to grasp it 100%. But then they changed it to where it was live again, and they said that they felt like that when people would come and buy things, even if a buyer or a seller, I'm sorry, if a seller had been off the platform for 6 months, not shared anything, and they got a sell, that they would come back and ship that. I disagree, and here's why I disagree. Not only do I belong to a lot of Poshmark groups, I belong to a group that's based on on buyers. And during the free shipping, especially, because they really some of them took advantage of it, not in my closet, but some of them took advantage of it. And they were saying, well, I got ghosted. I've seen that over and over and over for like 2 weeks. It was like, kind of like all of us seeing the sales would drop. Like, you know, when you see it that much, you're like, there's something going on. This is my opinion. What went on is they are pushing these older sellers, and when they sell something, maybe that item is long gone. Shoot, they might have donated it to Goodwill, given up on Poshmark, you know, especially as a casual seller, and you hear you have to share and you have to do all these things to be seen, and they're like, I don't want no part of that, right? So Poshmark is maybe trying to counteract that a little bit. Like, maybe my opinion is trying to get away from the sharing. Maybe they're dabbling with that. I mean, my opinion, please, my opinion. Don't go out and say they're getting rid of sharing, because that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, if we give it some thought, come up with your own conclusions. Let me know in the comments what your opinion is. I have learned more from you resellers than what I ever have from any platform. And this is what I say about eBay. People always come at me and say, well, Poshmark is having issues. And I tell them cross-list, cross-list, cross-list. And I'm still telling you to cross-list. And you know what? They told me on the Poshmark call, they have no issues with you cross-listing to other platforms. They expect it, especially as big resellers. You put your eggs in lots of different baskets, right? I mean, could you imagine if Coca-Cola's like, I'm only gonna sell Coke at Walmart and nowhere else? That's unrealistic. So they expect us to cross-post. And they know that we cross-post. So I tell people, cross-post to eBay. And they're like, well, eBay has issues too. Well, here's the thing. And this is what's going to happen with Poshmark. Okay, give it time. This is a big hiccup. Just like eBay has big hiccups. The resellers are going to find those hacks. They're going to figure it out how to make it work for all of us. And that's what you got to hold on to. Don't give up on Poshmark. If it's giving you grief and that's what you want to do, do it. But don't give up on it because you're hearing all this negativity, because eventually it's going to work out. It's going to be okay. And we as a community will gather together and we will figure this out. All right, you guys, thank you for your time. I hope this wasn't too confusing doing 2 different videos in one. I appreciate it very much. Bye-bye. But my issue is, so the first time you guys changed the algorithm in February, I seen a steep decline. Now keep in mind, I've been in this business for some time, and I know that people will blame gas prices and the war, but when that kind of stuff happens, used clothing, used goods, market skyrockets. I mean, I hate to say this, but it's just the truth. When times are at their roughest, the flea markets and places like that, things that, and I'm not comparing Poshmark to a flea market, but that's my knowledge. You know, places that sell secondhand items actually do even better than what they were doing before, because people are trying to save money and they're trying to, you know, they're trying to get something at just a little bit better of a deal. So that happened to me in February, and when you changed it back, literally the day you changed it back, my sales, I mean, it done so well that I was so inspired, so happy and relieved, thinking I have my Poshmark back, yay! That I think I listed like almost 400 things in a matter of 3 weeks, and my March shows it until March 15th. And my sales started going down a little bit, and then people started coming to me and let me know, you know, things were going on. I kind of took note of some of the things I was seeing, patterns and weird things that was going on, which I think that it's going to happen when anybody changes something, the algorithm has to kind of reset itself. But if you take a look at my April sales, I don't know how I will stay on Poshmark if this is how it is. I mean, I don't usually go a day without a sale, let alone 4 or 5 in a row. And I kind of compiled a little video. I'm going to send you a link. I don't want to really bog you guys down with it here, but I'm going to send you a link so that you can watch that video and see the hundreds, thousands of people making comments about their sales and issues. And some of them are having issues I'm not seeing. So can I add something kind of like while you're talking about that? So I've been very consistent for 3.5 years. So, you know, it took 6 months, 8 months to build. And of course I'm building a little bit at, you know, every month, but it stays very consistent. So what has changed with Poshmark, that's all the customers you're talking about, you can't promise they're going to buy from me. I understand that, but they've been buying from me until you change the algorithm. So what's changed that's causing these people not to buy from me? Well, it does, except for I've talked to several different types of closets, handcrafted closets, jewelry closets, people that carry brand new free people that they wholesale, people that are wholesalers on your site, people like myself. I have all different kinds. I have bread and butter. I have bohemian. I have, you know, mature brands. I kind of have all kinds of things.
You have a mix of a lot.
Yeah, I do. And like we're all experiencing the same issues. But then there's this person that has a closet just like mine that's not having the same issues. So, I mean, that just, to us, it doesn't make sense why some of us are seeing this and some of us are not. It's made the change on March 15th, and we made a poll on a Poshmark Thrifting, which you guys probably know that page. There's a couple pretty big influencers on it. And 420 people saw the change literally March 15th when the algorithm changed. So I don't think the sales are just because I mean, I feel like especially March and February, because tax time is great. And you're right, this time of year, again in June, I mean, I've been in retail for 30 years, so I understand there's ebb and flow for sure, but this feels different, and we all are kind of I mean, there's a consensus among many people that are career sellers, not people that's not giving it. You know, you'll hear all the time, all year long, people will say, my sales are slow. And you're like, well, how many do you list? Oh, I listed like 3 last month. You know, well, that's why they're not engaging. They're not being active. But I'm active 7 days a week. I think I've taken 3 days off in the last 4 years because it's so easy. I mean, I'm working, maybe an hour on one day and 10 hours the next, but I'm always giving it effort and attention to make sure that I am engaging, because this is my only income. So
what is your expectation from Poshmark in order to turn this around?
To stop favoring sellers that are not active. When they say they're going to go to just shared, make it just shared, not just shared 2 months ago, just shared 2 seconds ago, because that's what worked for Poshmark. I do believe that being fair, and I know you guys need to retain closets, and that not everybody needs to be, you need to be able to cater to the casual seller too, for sure. I mean, that you're going to have to do that to get new people like myself that would come on and then make a living out of this, or not even to make a living, but make that extra money enough to like be consistently engaged. So I feel like, to me, what needs to be fixed is the search. You guys say that using SEO titles work, but when you done this the first time and somebody came out and said shorten your titles, I'm like, I can't do it. I cannot go backwards. I use SEO titles, but I did. I went into into a flax jumpsuit that I had, and I literally put the word jumpsuit and then posted it, and it sold within 2 hours. I mean, and so when you're looking at your search now and you put in, like I have on that video I'm going to send you, there's a lady that was looking up Dolce & Gabbana lotions and some kind of perfume. I'm really not familiar with it. And she said what come up was like a blue top for $3. So the search is broken. It's not working, and it's not working for customers either. So I feel like that, to me, they should have focused on that first and got the just shared working, or not just shared, but the search really optimized and working very well. Then incorporate this new way of how you're like making smaller closets, make it more fair. I get that. I think it should be fair. But I can tell you that when I just share my item and I go to just shared, and many of us have done this to kind of check it out, there's items on there that was shared sometimes up to 2 years ago, which to me that's ridiculous.
Shared?
That you'll have 2 rows on the computer. On the phone it's different. Actually on my computer and my Android, because I have an Android, it's a little bit different, but on your computer, the first 2 rows will be just shared, so it'll definitely be recently shared. Like, even if it's not in order, like it doesn't say 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. It might say 6 seconds, 6 minutes, 6 hours. No, I didn't even say that right. 6 minutes, 10 minutes, then back to 2 minutes. So that's fine. But then you get to I think it's row 4 and 6, that it's items that's shared a long time ago, and we're also seeing a lot of people on boards I belong to that are customer based for Poshmark, like to kind of teach them how to shop and show them what we got. It's kind of, for us as resellers, it's like a marketing tool for shoppers, but the group itself is based for shoppers, like people that shop on Poshmark. And we're seeing consistently that, especially during free shipping, because it really increased sales for people. But I mean, some people it didn't, but for some people it did, and they went out and they bought these things and they were ghosted. And it's because these closets and these people have been long gone that Poshmark are bringing up in the algorithm. And so it's creating a customer service issue. It's creating unnecessary competition for all of us out here that are really busting our butts to try to do our best for Poshmark. And me too, but I'm saying that I've listened to what Poshmark has suggested, and I've implemented all those things. So they want me to share other people. Oh, there's a lot of people and a lot of resellers that go, I don't do that. I'm not doing that. That's a waste of time. I do. I don't obsess over it. But I do it. And especially if someone's saying, I'm, having slow times and I'll go in. I show that community love because that's what to me makes Poshmark special.
Yeah.
As we do have that.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate that. I'm sorry if like on this call, honestly, like we really can only go deep dive into what's going into your personal closet. Again, like if we talk about the whole of the community, I'm not dismissing what has been said in the Facebook groups, what's been posted on our Instagram, what what a lot of community members are saying, but at the end of the day, if we're going to talk about like the whole of Poshmark, and when we look at the big picture with the data, there's a lot of positive signals. So I'm like